This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you see the score below me, 127-120. The Knicks lose to the Miami Heat. And this game, I enjoy every Knicks game. But this one wasn't as enjoyable for me. Because the Knicks could not get stops. They couldn't get stops against the Minnesota Timberwolves either. But this was the second night in a row where they couldn't get stops. And not only could the Knicks not get stops, but it felt like every foul call went against them. It seemed like they couldn't get calls in this game either. So it wasn't as enjoyable. The previous game against Minnesota was very enjoyable, I guess because Julius Randle was on a rampage, so that was exciting. And the game was up and down. But tonight's game wasn't as enjoyable. So the Knicks dropped one to the Miami Heat. Not only do they drop one to the Heat, but they lose a game to the Miami Heat. The Knicks came into the game 3 games above the Heat in the standings. They leave the game just 2 games above the Miami Heat in the standings and just 2 games above the Brooklyn Nets. So the next game that the Knicks play against the Miami Heat next week is critical. That's a must-win situation. Who knows where either team will be by then? But the Knicks have the chance to win the series, which could be very important if it comes down to a tiebreaker. And of course, gain a game back over the Miami Heat. So that game is going to be critical. Now, they got to get it done against the Orlando Magic tomorrow, too. Right? That's a team that's young, got bounce in their legs. They're not in the playoffs, so I'm pretty sure they're motivated to knock somebody off, give somebody some trouble, knock them down the standings, rankings, or whatever you want to call it. So the Knicks better get it together, man. Defensively, they better get it together. They got to get it together defensively. I don't know what it is, but the last 2 games, teams have been shooting the lights out against the New York Knicks. And the Miami Heat did it tonight. In the first half, when they were knocking down shots, I said to myself, it's not going to last. They're not going to continue to shoot this hot. I didn't think they were. But they kept shooting the ball and making shots. I'm like, come on, man. These guys don't want to go away. They didn't want to do it, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Heat tonight shot 57% from the 3-point line. They shot 57% from the field. Those are tough numbers to stop. You're not going to win games allowing teams to shoot that high a percentage. The Heat came into the game averaging for the season 109 points per game. Now, they were averaging more than that against the Knicks. And they were shooting well against the Knicks coming into the game. So I'm not going to say it's a surprise that they shot so well, because it's not really a surprise, right? It's not a surprise. They came into the game shooting 48% or something like that from the field. All right, and 47% from the 3-point line. So, whatever it is, There's something about maybe the way the Knicks play defense that allowed the Miami Heat to shoot above their average because they came into the league towards the bottom of the league last in the league in scoring, towards the bottom in field goal percentage and three-point percentage. And they do this tonight. 57% from the field, 57.1% from the three-point line. There was 16 for 28 from the three-point line tonight. 21 for 26 from the free throw line tonight. All right, they had 10 turnovers on the night. The Knicks couldn't get stops when they needed to get stops. The Knicks shot the ball well. 51% from the field, 40% from the three-point line. There was 16 for 40 from the three-point line. They shot 80% from the free throw line. Things we said the Knicks needed to do. We also said that they needed to get stops, and they just couldn't get those stops. Turnovers. The Knicks had 16 turnovers tonight, but I'm going to say maybe 5 of those turnovers were offensive fouls. You had an offensive foul called on Isaiah Hartenstein that I didn't think was an offensive foul. I need to go back and look at it and see if he inadvertently tripped Kyle Lowry, but looking back at the replay, it seemed like Kyle Lowry tripped his own self up. There were some calls that I just thought were questionable. I mean, it's like that every game, but, it seemed like every time that the Knicks went on a run, took a lead or, started pressing up against the Miami Heat's lead, be a barrage of calls against the Knicks. Boop, 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 boop. Cut off the Knicks' momentum. And I'm not saying anything that like the refs were cheating. It's just the way that the game went. You know what I mean? It's just the way the game went. And I felt like tonight was one of those times where the foul calls and sometimes lack of foul calls, but the foul calls against the Knicks really disrupted the flow of the game for the Knicks, in my opinion. Times when they would have maybe gotten a stop, gotten an offensive rebound or a defensive rebound, to possibly ignite the break. A foul call went against the Knicks. You know what I mean? And then even down the stretch of the game, Jimmy Butler is trapped, and he clearly travels. If I was Tom Thibodeau, I would have challenged that call, right? Because they called the foul on the Knicks. I would have challenged it, and maybe they would have seen it travel. I don't know if they would have been able to do anything because he traveled, but he clearly switched pivot foots in front of the referee. Jimmy Butler grabbed Mitchell Robinson's leg in front of the referee. This was in the first half. I don't want to go on a tear about the referees because that's not why the Knicks lost. They lost because they couldn't get stops, but I don't feel like the refs helped. You know what I mean? And, of course, the refs aren't supposed to help either team, but I felt like they helped the Miami Heat tonight. Seriously. To me, in my opinion, it felt like they helped the Miami Heat. And I'm not saying that they did it purposely. It's just, I guess that's the way that the basketball game went tonight. The Heat got the better end of the calls. Frustrates me, though. Frustrates me. But the Knicks could never really get into a rhythm. The Miami Heat played good defense, even though they gave up 120 points and let the Knicks shoot well from the field. They seemed to play better defense than the Knicks tonight. They got a few stops when they needed to get stops. They made it tough for Jalen Brunson, right? Brunson had 5 turnovers on the night. They made it tough when Brunson would get into the lane. They were really, really crowding him, right? And it's like they strategically crowded him in a way so that he couldn't see the passing lanes to get the ball back out, right? And so he struggled on a few occasions, especially in the first half, getting the ball back out to open shooters, right? And when he did look to pass that ball out, either it would get picked off or tipped. Not every time, but a lot of the times. And the Miami Heat are, they're good at, they play a lot of zone. They're good at jumping inside those passing lanes. You know what I mean? And the Knicks throw a lot of cross-court passes. They do a lot of, penetrating to the basket, drawing in the defense, and then kicking it back out. And the Miami Heat did a great job tonight of getting their hands in the passing lanes and making it tough for the Knicks to have a line of vision to make the right pass. And then they do a lot of trapping. It doesn't even have to be Julius Randle or Jalen Brunson. R.J. Barrett, too. A lot of trapping on guys who are trying to penetrate the lane to cause the defense to drop in. They do a lot of trapping. So when you get inside, yeah, that's great. You got inside, but can you get the ball back out without it being tipped? They do a great job doing that, and it bothered the Knicks all night long. Even though the Knicks shot well, I think that style of defense bothered them. The Knicks and the Heat got to do it again in a week. Ladies and gentlemen, they got to do it again in a week. That game's going to be more important than this game was. So when you look at the standings now, the New York Knicks are 42-33, 9 games above 500. All right, or 42-32. I'm sorry. Right, 10 games above 500. 42-32, 10 games above 500. The Brooklyn Nets 39-33. The Miami Heat are 40-34. So the Miami Heat right now, the Brooklyn Nets have a 0.01 percentage point. They're 0.01 percentage point above the Miami Heat in the standings. Both teams are 2 games behind the New York Knicks. The Knicks are now 4 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. So there you have it. Looking at the box scores tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks were led in scoring by R.J. Barrett, who did shoot the ball well tonight. All right, as a matter of fact, R.J. looked pretty good tonight. I seen somebody in the chat say, maybe the Knicks should have called R.J.'s number a little more. Maybe so. But, the way the Knicks play basketball, it's supposed to be that the ball gravitates to the open player or to whoever's hot or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And maybe he could have gotten more touches. R.J. Barrett, 26.6 rebounds, 5 assists tonight for R.J. Barrett. Jalen Brunson, he had 25 points on the night. Both guys shot the ball well. Jalen Brunson, 62.5% from the field. R.J. Barrett, 61.5% from the field. He also shot 50% from the three-point line, R.J. Barrett. He was 7 for 7 from the free throw line. Really good game for R.J. tonight. I think he took some nice controlled shots when he was, posting up. You know what I mean? So, a really good game from RJ, and hopefully, he's been playing well for a little while now, though. He's turned it up. He's been playing well. Julius Randle, 7 for 16 from the field for 44%. He was 1 for 5 from the three-point line, 9 assists tonight, only 15 points, 9 assists tonight for Julius Randle. I will say this, he wasn't hitting, but he wasn't forcing, right? He didn't try to duplicate his effort against Minnesota. He just played, realized that they were trapping heavy, and kicked it out. 4 turnovers for Julius Randle tonight. Mitchell Robinson, 10 points, 8 rebounds. Had a nice move to the basket in the first half. And, with Mitch, if you're arguing or complaining or worried about getting shot attempts, do what you did, right? You faked the pass, took a dribble to the basket, or faked the handoff, took a dribble to the basket, banged it home. You do that, you're going to get more attempts. People are going to trust you a little bit more. All right, 3 blocks for Mitchell Robinson. He did have 5 personal fouls. He tweaked his knee a little bit. And another call that I felt like could have and should have win against the Miami Heat. I think it was Max Struss who, came and set a screen on Mitchell Robinson. And it was I felt like he just straight up ran into Mitchell Robinson. And then as Mitchell Robinson was trying to go by him, I felt like he stayed with Mitchell Robinson and didn't give Mitchell Robinson a chance to move. But they called offensive foul, or they called a defensive foul on Mitchell Robinson, where I felt that should have been an offensive foul on the Miami Heat. Didn't give Mitchell Robinson a chance to move. He bumped knees on that play, right? I mean, a couple of times you see Mitchell Robinson come up limping against the Heat tonight. Hopefully there are no ill effects in later games, and Mitchell Robinson will continue to be healthy, because the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson out there. They need his shot blocking. They need his ability to grab offensive and defensive rebounds. All right, 4 offensive rebounds, 4 defensive rebounds for Mitchell Robinson tonight. Again, Jalen Brunson, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Quentin Grimes, 22 points tonight. He was hot from the three-point line, 6 for 10 for 60%. He was 7 for 12 from the field. The Knicks needed an X-factor guy to step up. We talked about that, and Quentin Grimes did so. The Knicks just didn't get it done on the defensive end. Josh Hart gave you 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Quickly, off night for Quickly, 1 for 8 from the field, 1 for 5 from the three-point line, 5 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists for Emmanuel Quickly. For the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Butler gets on my nerves sometimes. He's a hell of a player, though, but he does get on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? You've seen him and Julius Randle going back and forth a little bit towards the end of the game. Listen, if somehow the Knicks and the Miami Heat meet in the playoffs, that's going to be a battle if they end up meeting in the playoffs. That'll be a fun battle to watch. I don't think they will, but if somehow they did, it'd be a battle. Serious battle. Jimmy Butler, 35 points, 9 assists tonight for Jimmy Butler. Shot 58% from the field. He was 2 for 2 from the three-point line. Tyler Hero, 22 points, 4 assists. I can't stand playing against Tyler Hero. The kid can just flat out shoot the ball. He's got a perfect shot. His form is perfect. He's got a beautiful shot. 22 points, 4 assists for Tyler Hero. Gabe Vincent, another guy, steps up and, I don't know if this is his career high, but probably one of his best games. 19 points, 3 assists, and he was really killing the Knicks in the first half. Kyle Lowry had 14 points tonight. So a disappointing one, man. Let me get my guy Tony Crone in the building. Tony, what's popping with you, brother? How you feeling about tonight's loss to the Miami Heat? And did your daughter rub it in?
That's why I'm mad. I'm more mad. I'm more mad she got to gloat, and say, "Oh, the Butler did it. The Butler did it." And,
yeah.
Than the actual loss itself. But I rubbed it in last time, and we got one more against them. So that's
right.
That's what I'm telling myself right now.
Yeah. I just didn't like the flow of the game, man. You know what I mean? I didn't like the flow of the game for the Knicks, and a lot of it is due to Miami's defense and the way that they play defense. But I felt like the referees didn't do the Knicks any favors too. I just felt like there were a lot of questionable calls there. You know what I mean? And I'm not blaming the refs. I just felt like there were questionable calls that either didn't get called or that I didn't feel should have won against the Knicks.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree, but I won't. At the same time, I like that setting. I like that. You know what I mean? The Knicks. I feel like next game the Knicks are gonna have to take them a little bit more. You know what I mean? Take it a little bit more personal. I felt like the Heat just wanted it. A little bit more, and that's not a knock on this team because they still fought to the end. You know what I mean? Didn't give up. They, you know what I mean? It was still the same team, but the Heat just wanted it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And a lot of those 50-50 balls, and I guess like you were saying, the 50-50 calls, you know what I mean, we're going the Heat's way.
The Heat's way.
Where last game we were getting those. So I'm I'm all right with this one. Like I say, I'm more upset that my daughter got to rub it in than I am with the actual loss and how we lost and
Yeah.
how we played.
Yeah. I'll go back though to that call against. I think the Knicks were down 3. With just a few seconds left, and Jimmy Butler was trapped, and he traveled. Like, that was a clear travel. I don't know how you missed that if you're the referee. He switched pivot foot. You know what I'm saying? Like, how he switched his pivot. I don't know how you missed. How can you miss that? You know what I mean? And that part of the game, you can't miss that. And clearly the referee just let it go. Jimmy Butler grabbed Mitchell Robinson's leg. The referee looking right there. You know what I mean? That type of play really should have been a flagrant foul. You know what I mean? Mitchell Robinson was on his way running back down to the other side of the court.
Grabbed his leg,
Jimmy
right?
Butler was lying on the floor, and he grabs his leg. And the referee, you see the referee right in the
Looking
shot,
right at
looking right at it. How do you not call that? That's the type of stuff that makes me mad. You know what I mean? Because that's, those things are, that flagrant foul is there to protect players. What if Mitchell Robinson would have tripped and fell, right, and banged his knee on the floor? You know what I mean? Those type of things is what upset me with the referees in this game. And I know the Knicks just didn't play good defense tonight. I dig that. I'm not taking anything away from the Miami Heat's defense. I just felt like the referees got to get it together. You know what I'm saying? Rebuild. Said the refs controlled that game, giving the Heat the benefit of most of the calls. I agree. You know what I mean? Ryan Rock said Butler was getting all the calls. He definitely got a lot of calls. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. I'm not blaming the refs, but I can't stop talking about them because I'm pissed off at some of the things that they did not call. You know what I mean? Will I say the Knicks didn't play good defense? Yes, I will say the Knicks didn't play good defense. Did the Knicks not make plays down the stretch? Did the Knicks turn the ball over? Yes, they did. Did the referees call some badass calls? Yes, they did. So I'm going to say that too. You know what I mean? Because I don't like when certain things happen. If you're going to call it, call it. If you're going to call a trip, if a trip is supposed to be, if a player not making a non-basketball play is supposed to be a flagrant foul, then call it. That's what I'm saying. Clearly in front of the referee, that's a non-basketball play. The basketball's not even there. The basketball's on the other side of the floor. Call it. If you don't see it, that's one thing. If you're standing right in front of it, you know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that pisses me off because you're supposed to make those calls. I mean, especially when it's right in front of you. When Jimmy Butler travels right in front of you when he's getting trapped, you're supposed to make that call. He's in a clear sight in the line of the view of the referee. He's clearly looking at that play because that's the only thing happening right now on the floor. Dig? That pisses me off. You're supposed to make those plays. So, yeah, I'm going to complain about it. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from the Miami Heat's defense. And if you can get away with calls, you're going to get away with calls. That's what's going to happen. It's on the referee to make those calls. You know what I mean? Just like against Minnesota, the 2-minute report came back and said that so-and-so should have been called for offensive foul. So now what? If there's a 2-minute report for this game, they're going to come back and say Jimmy Butler should have been called for a travel. I don't care now. You're not going to take it back. Why are you telling me? That's the type of stuff that makes me mad. You know what I mean? Get the calls right. That's why you got all these instant replays and all that stuff, to get the calls right.
Did we have the challenge at that time?
We did have a challenge. I think Mike Breen was saying that the Knicks should have challenged the foul call or something like that.
I thought so too.
The foul call stopped the play and put Jimmy Butler to the line when he possibly could have gotten a 5-second call for holding the ball too long or something like that. You know what I mean? And so Mike Breen was saying that they should have challenged the foul call. I don't know. It still would have stopped the play, but I guess, maybe, it would have resulted in a jump ball or something else. You know what I mean?
But could they have called the travel?
I don't know if they could have called the travel. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if they could have switched it, if they could have called the travel
I
at
mean,
that
if the
point.
travel occurred before the foul, then
Right.
yeah, I think so. Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Kevin said that referees were playing some good defense. Can't even lie. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, D Public Enemy said the NBA refs have been horrible all season for every team. You saw and heard Fred Van Vliet's complaints. Yeah, no, they have. You know what I'm saying? They have. They've been bad. We've talked about it. The reasons why maybe the refereeing has been bad this season. With the speed of the game and the athleticism of players and stuff like that. And then the more calls, the more rules that you have is, gets a little bit tougher. But some things are blatantly in front of you. You know what I mean? And you got to make those calls. Got to make those calls. But anyway, the Knicks take the loss tonight to the Miami Heat. They lost their second in a row. They got to take on the Orlando Magic tomorrow in Orlando. All right, now the Knicks have beaten the Magic twice so far this season. I think both games they've beaten them. Well, they beat at least one game. They beat them by double digits. All right, at least one game. The game is on NBA TV tomorrow, 7 p.m., a little bit earlier. At least one game the Knicks have beaten the Orlando Magic by double digits. The second game, they beat them by 4. So the first game, the Knicks beat them 115-102. That was back in October. The second game, the Knicks beat them 102-98. That was just a month and a half ago. But this is an important game. This turns out to be a really important game for the Knicks now. You don't want to go on a 3-game slide. You lose this basketball game, and now your lead over Brooklyn, over Miami, gets cut again. All right, so this is definitely a big one for the Knicks, and they've got to approach it as such. Now, Brooklyn does play Cleveland tomorrow. All right, so there is a good chance that Brooklyn loses that game, but there's also a chance that Brooklyn wins that game. Right, but if Brooklyn loses the game and the Knicks win, the Knicks will be back to being 2.5 games above the Brooklyn Nets. Well, the Knicks are 2 games above the Nets. Now, if the Knicks win and Brooklyn loses, the Knicks will be 3 games above them. If the Knicks lose and Brooklyn wins, that lead is trimmed to 1. Right, so the Knicks have got to do their job and win the game. Right, do their job and win the game over the Orlando Magic. There's no time for slip-ups right now. Okay, I'm sure, listen, Cleveland and Brooklyn, they're both going to be battling. Cleveland wants to hold on to that 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm pretty positive of that. And, they may have an outside chance of catching Philadelphia for that 3rd seed. So they're probably looking there. Slim chance. All right, Philadelphia is 4 games above the Cleveland Cavaliers, so there's a slim chance there. But if you're going to catch them, you got to win basketball games. You got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Orlando Magic, 30-43. And actually, for the Magic in the situation that they're in, I mean, that's not terrible, to be honest with you. And they're not a terrible team. They play hard. They don't stop playing. They can play fast. They have young players. You know what I mean? That's not a terrible team. So the Knicks really need to approach it seriously and go to Orlando to get that win. Now, it's the second night of a back-to-back. You just played a physical game against the Miami Heat. So that's going to be a tough one for the Knicks. That's going to be a tough one, I believe. They need to pull that game out. Get that win, and then I think the Knicks come back home. Come back off the road and come back home. But they got to do it defensively, man. That's the thing right there. The Knicks have got to do it defensively. You cannot allow the Miami Heat to shoot. Orlando to shoot the way you allowed Minnesota to shoot the other night and Miami to shoot tonight. Because if you do that, you're not going to win. It's not going to happen. All right, the Knicks have got to figure out Well, let's put it like this. I'm pretty sure teams are looking at the last two games and saying, okay, like Orlando, looking at the last two games and say, what is it that Miami is doing that Minnesota did to shoot so well against the Knicks? And can we replicate it? And I think the Knicks, they've got to, and you may not have time. You're not going to have time to do anything because the game is tomorrow. So, maybe you can talk about some things in some film study tomorrow afternoon or whatever. You can talk about some things in a walk around, a walk through, but you're not going to have time to practice. But I think the Knicks, they're film guys. They got to look at some film and break it down and say, what is it that these teams are doing, right? You gotta scout yourself. What are these teams doing to us? Why are they, the last two games, are they shooting the ball at such a high clip? And how do we change that? You know what I mean? Because the Knicks, if this continues, they'll put themselves in a bad situation. Tony, your thoughts, man. Why are the Knicks allowing teams to shoot such a high clip over the past few games?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know, but let me think about that, if you will, and let me just state that I am concerned about the Orlando game. Not just coming off the back-to-back, but just in general. You know what I mean? Like they're a young, scrappy team that, kind of, they're too young to even realize that they should be losing games. You know, you know what I mean? Like they trying to win. They beating some formidable competition, so they're not gonna lay down. They've been playing us well for the past couple of years with their young guys. So I think tomorrow's game, we're gonna really need others to step up. You know what I mean? Like Obi might need to have a good game. You know what I mean? Like Hartenstein. You know what I mean? Like the guys who the bench basically. You know what I mean? We're gonna need more production from them, and maybe expect a little bit less from Randall, who obviously coming off last game, he still looked gas tonight. Now it's another game a day later. You know what I mean? Like he might need a lower load tomorrow, or we may expect some more inefficiency.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think, I don't think he's going to get any
my
lower
bad.
load. You know what I mean? You know, talking about Randall, I doubt he's going to get any lower load. You know what I mean? So, he's going to have to get on the plane if that's what they're doing, if they're taking a plane up there and get some rest. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they're going to lower his load any.
I mean, I agree, but I don't expect a lot of efficiency. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, I don't expect him to be efficient and just have a great game tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So somebody's got to step up. Let me just address Josh real quick, because if you listen to what I said from the beginning, the only two games I was concerned about was Orlando and Cleveland. So there you go. We're playing Orlando now. So yes, I'm concerned. And coming off two losses, I'm even more concerned. Different circumstances change people's opinions.
Right. Yeah. And Josh, said that Tony, what did he say? Put that back up there for a minute. I just wanted to read it real quick.
Hold up. He basically said I wasn't concerned 2 days ago.
Oh, wasn't concerned 2 days ago.
Go.
But like you said though, circumstances change. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? If I'm not concerned about my knee hurting today because it ain't hurting, then it starts hurting tomorrow. Well, I guess I'm concerned about it tomorrow. You know what I mean? When it starts hurting. I'm concerned about the Knicks defense though. That they haven't been able to get stops. and why they're not getting stops. Obviously, they've been through this throughout the season where they can get stops and then they can't get stops. They're playing good defense, not playing good defense. You know what I mean? But this is the point of the season where you want every part of your team to be clicking. You know what I mean? You want the offense to be clicking. You want the defense to be clicking. So for teams to be, in my opinion, for teams to score, 127 points tonight, 140 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves, you know what I mean? And you're having trouble getting stops and teams are shooting over 50% from the field and shooting a high percentage from the three-point line, that's troubling.
I agree. And I expected tonight to be the game where we kind of revert back to it being a defensive game, maybe a low scoring game, 110, 107, something like that. Yeah, we definitely, the offense has gotten a lot better, but now it's hard to just lock in when we're not locked in for a full game defensively, like we kind of was early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to lock in moments now. You know what I mean? Like, so they might have to scrap some of the offense and stick
Listen,
to.
I've been a proponent of that all year long. Feeling that the Knicks play better. They win more basketball games. Let's say this. In my opinion, when the score is somewhere between 112 and 118, or 112 and 116, I feel like that's when the Knicks win. Now, and this is just eyeballing it. I'm not looking at any stats. You know what I mean? To see, what the scores have been when the Knicks have won ball games. But when I watch them play, when the game is at a higher pace, up and down going, and the scores are, really high, above 120, above 125, things like that. They've won a couple, but I don't feel like they normally win those basketball games. I feel like the Knicks are best suited when they're scoring, 112, 113, 114, somewhere around there, 117, and, keeping the pace, I guess, medium. You know what I mean? Not, and they didn't really play up and down like that tonight. There were parts of the game where it was like that. I just feel the Knicks played best. And I don't know if it's because this particular team has a hard time. I mean, when I look at their body types, Brunson, Randall, Brunson, Randall, and RJ, they're not that athletic type. You get some people who have this athletic type of body that will never tire. They could just go, never tire. Those three guys don't have those type of bodies, in my opinion. So I don't feel like they're suited to play that high octane type of offense and play defense at the same time. You know what I mean? And so I don't feel like this team is suited towards it either. I feel like they play better when it's a little bit of a slower pace, and they can knuckle in defensively. You know what I mean? That's just me eyeballing it. No numbers behind that at all. That's just what I see when I'm watching them play. I mean, and I think if they're going to be successful down the stretch, these last 8 games, I think that's the style of basketball that they're going to have to play, to win those basketball games. We'll see how that ends up. Every game is different. Every game tells its own story, and sometimes you have to adapt to the style of play that's going on, and I do get that. Right? If a team comes out and you're playing good defense and you got a hand in the face on every possession and they're still knocking down threes and knocking down shots, now you're like, oh, well, we got to score with them. Right? And so now you've got to adapt your style of play to be able to score with them. That happens sometimes. You know what I mean? Hopefully the Knicks don't make this doesn't become a trend with the Knicks, that they're scoring these high amount of points but can't get it done on the defensive side of the ball. Knicks win the battle of the boards tonight, 42 to 29. The Knicks actually win the battle of the boards, 42 to 29. But clearly it wasn't enough. 29 assists for the Knicks, 28 assists for the Miami Heat. 16 turnovers for the Knicks, 10 for the Miami Heat. I don't know. I didn't like this basketball game. I just didn't like this game, man. I wanted to get this win, but we can get it back. We beat Orlando. We go back above 500 by 11. You know, we go 11 games above 500. We beat Orlando. I mean, then we'll be down to 7 games left in the season. And as these games begin to tick away, you know what I mean, it gets tighter and tighter for every team that's out there playing. I mean, it starts to get tighter and tighter. What the Knicks got to do is keep peeling off wins. You know, they took a loss tonight. They got to peel off wins. You're going to have a chance. You got Orlando tomorrow, and then you come back home and you got Houston on Monday. All right, so you're going to have a chance. You got a good chance to come back home with 2 wins, which would give you, the Knicks get those 2 wins, they're going to be, 45 wins on the season? If they get those 2 wins? No, 44 wins on the season. So the Knicks will have a chance to get those 2 wins, come back home and have 44 wins, be 44-32, right? And have like 5 games left to the season, 6 games left to the season. And things start to get really, really tight at that point. You know what I mean? And then they'll come back after they play Orlando and Houston. They play Miami, Cleveland, Washington, Indiana, New Orleans, Indiana. Okay? Schedule is not daunting, but it's competitive. All right? Of course, I'm talking about those last 6 games. It's not daunting, but it's competitive. You know what it's gonna be like with the Heat. You know what it's gonna be like with Cleveland. You know, you got the Wizards who are, I would think they're trying to battle their way into the 10th spot. By the time we get to them, maybe it's too late, or maybe they're close to being into that 10th spot. Indiana, they're in the 11th spot right now. I'm sure they'd like to get into that 10th spot so they can make the play-in. New Orleans is trying to be in the play-ins out there in the West. You know, when you look at the West Coast, you know what I mean? Like, right now, the Golden State Warriors, they're 38-36. They just beat Dallas. Okay, they're 38-36. But after that, Minnesota's 37-37, OKC 36-36, Dallas 36-37, Utah 35-36, Los Angeles 35-37, New Orleans 35-37. So you're talking 2 games separating the 12th seed from the 6th seed out there in the Western Conference. I mean, so New Orleans at that point may still be battling to either make the play-in or the playoffs. I mean, so, you know, while the schedule isn't daunting down the stretch, it's going to be competitive. These teams are going to be battling for playoff or play-in position. You know what I mean? Unless some of them throw up the flag, you know, and take themselves out of it. You know, so.
I mean, they could always be playing spoiler too.
Yeah, exactly. Blue Hefner said the Heat, and see, this is where I disagree with him. He said the Heat and the Cavs, the only 2 games that should be competitive. I don't want to say should, right? Because, you know, I don't want to say should be competitive because these are NBA teams that might be playing for something. You know, if they're trying to get into that, we talked about it before, that desperation, man. You know what I mean? You can't quantify that. You know, and if you have a team that's playing in desperation mode because they're trying to make their way into the playoffs or the play-in, you know, you don't know how tough that's going to be to battle that team. So, you know, I don't know if I agree with those being the only 2 teams that should be competitive. Indiana's a competitive team. I mean, didn't we just go down the stretch against the Wizards the other night? Not the other night, but when KP had like 19 in the first quarter, that was a close game down the stretch. You know what I mean? You know, so it's gonna be excruciating down the stretch, but it's also gonna be fun. And you know, I'd rather have it this way than not, because for too long, you know what I mean, we haven't
meaningless games,
right? That's
We
what.
talking about the
Yeah.
draft. Who we?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Talking about the draft and what we're looking at. Oh, we need to lose these games. People talk about we need to lose these games because it's going to mess up our draft position, this, that, and the third. So it's nice to be able to just straight up support the team. Not worry about draft position and hope that we're winning basketball games and can take this. Get on a hot streak. I'd like to go on a hot streak going into the playoffs. You know what I mean? And maybe this works out for us. You lose a couple of games. You're kind of up and down, and then maybe you win your last 3 or 4 games, and you're going into the playoffs on a hot streak, feeling good about yourself. So we'll see. We're going to see how this works out for the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, Tony. Tomorrow,
Yeah, man.
We'll have another game preview tomorrow. The Knicks versus the Orlando Magic. And another post-game show. Hopefully we'll be having a losers lounge tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Man. I gotta the game's at 7. I don't get out till 9, so I'll have to catch that fourth quarter. Probably in the parking lot, depending on how how it's going, and then I'll drive home and I'll be on either way.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, hopefully we're doing a losers lounge tomorrow. That'd be nice. We haven't been able to do one in a couple of days, so it'd be nice to be able to do one tomorrow. All right, shout out to Flow Hypnotic. Said time to get McBride back in there if the defense continues to be an issue. Maybe so. He played for 25 seconds today, at the end of the first half. I thought maybe this is a prelude. You know what I mean? He's going to bring him in the second half and let him get a little bit of burn. No go. He didn't play.
I got a couple of questions. I don't know. You want the meat or you want the vegetables? I'll start with the good one. You seen Mitch move today?
Yeah, it was a nice move.
Now,
nice move.
You can't tell me he don't have the opportunity to do that once again.
He does. He has an opportunity to do that.
And that's all I was calling for early in the year.
And he's just got to do it. No one's going to get mad at you.
That's exactly what I said.
If you execute, no one's going to be upset. You just got to do it. You know what I mean? You just got to do it. And when you start doing it and you're impacting the game now because you make a couple of those, the coach is going to be like, okay, keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing that.
And they start working with you on it, on the IQ of it. So now you know when to do it, how to do it, how to be tricky at it. You know what I mean? So,
right. And your teammates start to look for it, say, hey, that thing you be doing? And maybe this is something because he spoke up a little bit through social media. Maybe this is something that the coaching staff said, hey, here's a way that you can get yourself a look or two per game. Fake the little handoff and go. You know what I mean? And maybe they were working on it, practicing it a little bit. So he did it, Hopefully he continues because that's a big addition. That's a big addition to the game, to the Knicks game. If Mitchell Robinson can get a couple of shots that he creates on his own each game, that's huge. And even just that handoff is huge because when Mitchell Robinson hands it off, a lot of teams know what's happening. They might try to jump it, whatever.
Or put 2 on the ball.
You know what I'm saying? Right. You know what I mean? So now, it makes them stay honest. It's easier to get that handoff off. The player who was receiving the handoff can catch it clean. You know what I'm saying? And maybe even catch it with a little bit of space to be able to go. You know what I mean? It keeps it honest. And then it gives Mitch, at least one way right now for him to create something for himself, feel good about it. Because it looked good. Boom, faked it, took a dribble, bomb. Nice move.
All right. My next question is, because I think this might be the second or third time I've seen teams targeting Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think we're gonna see more of that, especially in the playoffs? And are you concerned about it? I
I
mean, the only good thing is he doesn't seem to foul much, even in those situations, and he has the ability to go back at whomever it is
right,
with the same ferocity or
right,
you know what I mean. It'd be the same type of challenge on the other end.
right.
But go ahead.
I definitely think teams are going to continue to do it, continue to target them. You know what I mean? Either shooting over them or believing that they can go past them. That's without a doubt. What the Knicks got to do is figure out, okay, how do we help Jalen Brunson if teams start to target him? Do we send a double to make them have to swing the ball? Yeah, we might be scrambling, you know what I mean? But maybe that double also makes them scramble, you know what I mean, on the offensive side. So I guess, and there's going to have to be a balance, you know what I mean? If doubling and making your defense scramble is also hurting you or hurting you more, then you may just say, well, we gotta let it go.
Gotta
You
eat it.
know, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Gotta eat it.
Or I mean, it made me think of that when you put the comment up about more Deuce McBride.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I was wondering, like, does that become an issue to where you gotta get Deuce 5 minutes a game? You know what I mean? In a situation or something, or is it something we just gotta figure out? How to combat it,
I mean, I think it's
or
something. I mean, during the game, you can probably, if it was really a concern, you could find, maybe a few more extra minutes for Deuce if you wanted to, and hope that Deuce can give you something on the offensive side. But down the stretch of the game, you got to have Jalen Brunson out there on the floor. And at that point in time, you gotta figure out, okay, what we're gonna do. How are we gonna stop teams from either targeting Brunson or help Brunson? And that's difficult, especially if you have a team where all 5 players can score off the dribble or shoot over top of you or whatever it
mm-hmm.
is. That makes it even tougher. A lot of times you play a team and they got one guy on the floor that really can't score, right? He's a defender or something like that. And you can say, well, we'll stick Brunson on him. But if you're playing a team where all 5 guys can shoot the rock, that's tough. You know what I mean? And, I'll say this too, though. They have to guard Brunson, like you said. But Brunson does still some little things on the defensive side, taking offensive fouls. You know what I mean? He does some things in there too that,
He offsets it a little bit.
Offset some of his defensive shortcomings. You know what I mean?
I was just wondering because I feel like as we go down the stretch of the season, we're seeing it more and more as well. You know what I mean? So, and then of course in the 7-game series, if it's effective, we're gonna see it. You know what I mean? So we're gonna either have to figure it out, or he's gonna have to be a plus minus like equal or plus to where we can live with it.
Yeah. I think. I think they're gonna have to live with it. I see Walter White said, this is the 3rd game where he thought the bench should have got some extended minutes. You think the bench should have gotten some extended minutes tonight because they did get the lead back, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad at it. I wouldn't have been mad at it.
Right, versus other bench players, but they did get the lead back.
I wouldn't have been mad at it. Obi looked good tonight.
Yeah, Obi was active. Obi was definitely active tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad at it.
Yeah,
I don't think we played a horrible game. I really think it was like just a couple of plays and a couple of calls. You know what I mean? Would it change the dynamic?
Right. It wasn't horrible. It definitely wasn't horrible offensively. I think defensively,
step slow.
Maybe a step slow defensively. There were a lot of stuff. There were a lot of shots that were defended. It wasn't like they were just getting wide open shots every time down the floor. You know what I mean? So there were a lot of shots that were defended, and they made shots over top of, an extended hand or whatever it is. So, but I don't know. And maybe this was just a hot night for them. But it's been 2 nights in a row that a team has been hot against the Knicks.
That's fair. That's fair. Tomorrow, you know what I mean? Something happen tomorrow, I'm gonna be ultra concerned. and that like it don't matter if they play close and it's, you know what I mean? It looked like the same. Knicks, they fought hard. No, you got to win tomorrow.
You got a lot out of your guys.
Right. That exactly. I agree with you. You got to get it done tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? We can't be looking and saying, well, they did this, they did that. It was nah. They definitely got to get it done tomorrow. And like you said, that could end up being the toughest game of the stretch. You know what I'm saying? Because of, our past playing against Orlando. You know what I mean? It's always kind of a tough game, and now we're coming off of a back-to-back, a tough game off of a back-to-back. It could definitely be a tough one. But I want to listen in to Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau and Julius Randle talking about tonight's game. It's real short, about 4 or 5 minutes. So let's listen in. We'll get some feedback off of that, and then we'll call it a night. It's Tom Thibodeau.
You got a lot out of your guys in the fourth quarter. You fought your way back in the last 30 seconds of this thing. What was the difference not being able to make that full comeback?
Yeah, and they played really well. I thought it was a hard-fought game, but our defense obviously wasn't good enough. So I thought we fought back several times. We had the lead there for a while, but we couldn't hold on to it. And then, free throws hurt us, fouls hurt us, turnovers hurt us.
You mentioned your defense. Miami was 6 for 7 from 3 in that fourth quarter there. Yeah. What was the issue?
Well, I think the big thing is, they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. I thought Jimmy Butler and Kyle, they spread you out, and then you got Hero and you got Martin cutting, and Bam is, he's going to make you pay for, with his rebounding, and then he can initiate as well. So you get spread out, and you got to fly around, and you got to contain dribble penetration. You got to finish your defense. So I thought the rebounding was good, but they got rhythm early. Butler getting 14 free throws, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Coach, how was Miami able to slow down the Knicks after the first quarter on the offensive glass?
Yeah, well, we knew that they would be physical. We knew it would be a hard-fought game. And so, the big thing for us is we know the more we go, the more we get, and we got to fight. And so we fell short tonight, and we got to take a look at the film and see where we can make our corrections. I want to look at the fouls because I think that was a big part of this game. So, some of them are marginal, but I want to make sure that I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Also, Coach, all the looks thrown at Jalen, they threw full court press at him, all the switches. How do you think he responded through all of that?
He's fine. He sees it all. That's what he sees every game, so. And what the thing that we want is we don't want to fight. I thought Julius read the game really well. So we knew they would be more aggressive with him, double teaming him based on the way he played the last time here, but also what's going on. And he didn't fight it. He made a lot of good plays. We got good rhythm. We shot 51%. We scored 120 points, 16 threes, and we got to the line, our average. And I thought there was several other ones that we probably should have and could have gotten.
Second straight game where a team has shot better than 50% against you from 3.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the issue there?
Yeah, they got to fly around, so it's a compilation of things, from containment to reading the ball, flat drive versus penetrating drive, get in, get out, get them off the line, make them put it down, put a body on someone, so they can't offensive rebound and kick out. So, that's got to be the priorities to get defense going.
And Mitch was holding his knee. He didn't come back in. Is there any update on that?
No, I haven't talked to the medical people yet, but I'll get an update shortly.
So that was just basketball decision, Isaiah Closing.
Yeah.
Julius, you showed some healthy passion about the way this game went down. What was so frustrating about this loss for you tonight?
It was a tough one.
From what perspective? Was it an execution thing or just a mindset that you wanted to come in and win this one? Can you expand on that a little bit?
It's a tough way to lose. I think we just gotta get our defense in order. First off, get our defense in order and find a way to get stops on that end.
Yeah, and defensively, you're talking about it. I mean, Miami shot 71% in that fourth quarter. What is it that you guys can clean up to get back to the defense that we're used to seeing you guys play?
I think more than anything, it's just like our competition level and our communication on it end.
Randall definitely sounds kind of tired. Ain't no doubt about that. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, it's a little bit different. He's, in the locker room, this and that, depressed, a little bit depressed about the game, I'm pretty sure, but he sounds tired.
I think he also, because even the last game, I think he's also trying to be more conscious of what comes out of his mouth.
True. That's definitely true. You know what I mean? Being more conscious, understanding, what to say, how to say it, to make sure he doesn't get himself in any trouble. But, he also, sounds a little bit tired. Hey, this is that point of the season, man. You got to suck it up.
Yeah, man.
You got to suck it up. You know what I mean?
That second win.
That's it. You got to suck it up and, finish off the season. You know what I mean? I think after tomorrow's game, they get a couple of days rest. So they're going to have, in between games here, they're going to have, I think twice maybe they have 3 days of rest, which will help them. You know what I mean? That'll definitely help them. And then they make the playoffs. They'll have a week of rest because the play-in tournament is going to take place. They'll have a week of rest before the playoffs actually start. So they just got to get it done, man. They got to get it done. They got to put their head down, grind it out, and get it done. But anyway, I'm going to get up out of here, Tony. Tomorrow I'll do the game preview, probably, anywhere between 2:30 and 3:30. I'll be on the game preview tomorrow.
All right. That may be tough. I'll just be getting there. I'll have to take like an early break, but I'll definitely be there after the game, post game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can fill me in on the first half.
No doubt.
I'll know what's going on by the end. Yeah.
Josh said he's tired. I agree. But he's played every game. He has. He's played every game. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the only guys in the league that's, that plays at his capacity and has played every game. You know what I mean? So that's good. That's good. He's played every game. He's got to fight down the stretch of the season. You know what I mean? You'll get a chance to rest. You make it to the playoffs. You be that 5th seed. You're going to get a chance to rest down the end of the season before the playoffs start. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up out of here. I appreciate your time. I will catch you tomorrow on the post-game show. On the game preview and then the post-game show and hopefully a loser's lounge after that. Hopefully. Got to get this win, though. Anyway, we out, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.